A very good time to meet once again. There is something very important I would like us to talk about today. Yeah, this is an introductory message to the rallying movement. Uh, we are in Ghana, but the movement is all over the world. All right, maybe today is the first time you have heard of the rallying movement, or you might have heard of us before. We are all over, The people have so many skeptical beliefs of who we are. And it is always important that we try to speak, through these mediums for people to actually know who we are. Today, I'm here to introduce the rally movement to tell you some answers to some mysteries that we have been asking all the years. And the mysteries are: who is God? Who created God? Where does he come from? How did he create humanity? Does he really exist? Will there be heaven? Is there heaven? Is there going to be hellfire? Well, you may skip this particular audio only to find it somewhere in the future, because the answers are something daring that we cannot run away from, something that are coming that we can't run away from. All right, but we are in information era, and for that matter, if you still live without knowledge, without finding, without researching, without asking, then you live to your own doom, because the era of believing has passed. We are now in the era of knowing. Yes, time for everything. All right. So, have you ever bothered about or asked yourself, who is God? Who created God? Does he have a beginning? Does he have an end? Have you ever asked those questions before? If yes, then today we're going to have a very good time. Somewhere on the 13th December 1973, Rael had an encounter with an extraterrestrial from a far civilized country or a planet called the planet of the Elohim. And he introduced to him or decoded to him the mysteries of the Bible, the things that have been shrouded in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Kabbalah, in the Tanakh, and in all those books that we have been struggling to understand. And the extraterrestrial he met was called Yahweh. All right, so Yahweh told Rael that 25,000 years ago, they have also advanced in their scientific civilization, like we are about to be civilized or to advance. And their advancement led them to create living organisms, manipulation of DNA. So as they started creating, they created monsters and other things. So the people of that planet of the Elohim were very skeptical about what could be the future or the fate of these things they were creating. So they ceased them from creating further. And being scientists and always want to experiment, they decided to travel or to take a galactic tour, to travel within the galaxy. And as they traveled the galaxy, according to the abilities or the knowledge that they had, the craft that they were able to create in those days, they came to, or they discovered some planet which they could create life. So they made a first, second, third attempt in different planets that didn't actually succeed. And finally, the fourth attempt, they came to this earth and created, and when they came to this earth, they found the earth full of water. And they were able to use scientific knowledge to lift matter out of the water and gather the water to places as we can see. So at that time, it was just one continent. It wasn't 6 continents or 7 as we have today. All right, so having done that, they started creating simple organisms, or yes, microorganisms. Plant, the herbs, the trees. They came to to create insects and fish, aquatic animals, or aquatic things, and they came to create birds and mammals and so on and forth. And finally, they decided to create man, which is the most complex. All right, so when you read the messages, The Intelligent Design, which can be downloaded from rael.org. You just find so clear the connection the connection of creation, and this connection that some people discovered and they found it very difficult to understand, and they said we are the Darwin story of evolution. So it talks like we came from fish, and the fish evolved into a tadpole evolved into this, a fingerling, and so on and forth, and now we are human beings. Yes, there is some little iota of truth, because the creation that we see today, humanity today, the origin, how it started, the people that created us, they started creating something simple, and they kept advancing, kept increasing, kept improving. So we are the improved form of mammal, or all creation, living organisms on this earth. We are the advanced form of living organism. But the beginning of creation didn't start with man. It started with simple organisms. And as they kept creating, they took 2,000 years to create or to fix this planet into how it is, or how it became habitable. All right, so having done that, there are several stories about it, how man, the after creation, they gave everything in the charge of man. The man was so ignorant, and therefore some of the scientists have to stay back and help man to evolve. And the scientist, the leader of those scientists was Lucifer, and how Lucifer and his team rebelliously gave man the fruit of science, or the fruit of knowledge, and that is some kind of surgical operation that was done to improve man's abilities to have knowledge, and that was out of the bearing, because it was too quick for man to attain all this knowledge. And finally they decided to destroy, and later on asking Noah to create an ark, and all animals entering. Can't you see these are fairy tales? How can all animals enter into an ark? But the fact is that Noah created a spaceship, and he took with him the cell of all organisms on earth. And out of the cell, were able to clone back everything after the flood. All right, so you see, this is the era of information, where we are able to demystify everything that we have been hearing that sounds like fairy tales and folk tales and some kind of fables, and we didn't know how we can relate with. I told you earlier, information age, we don't believe, we know. We are past the era of believing. We are now in the era of knowing. So you see, we aren't alone. There is another civilization somewhere, and recently we've been seeing traces of it. Even in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Kabbalah, we see traces of it. Typical example, when they say let's create man in our image, who are they? They were a team. When Abraham will be sitting in the cool of the day, and some three guys will pass, Abraham say, come pass here and have some meal, and they passed there and ate and drank, later on to discover that was Yahweh, or that was God, the person you call God, with his two other Elohims, or angels. And afterwards, they went to Sodom, and the people of Sodom even nearly kidnapped these people and wanted to molest them. How could they kidnap spirit? They are living beings like us, with matter and DNA. They can be held, they can be felt. Later on in history, you realize that Jacob will even wrestle with one of the Elohim. And the Bible confirms it in the book of Hosea. When you read chapter 2, the verse of 12, or chapter 1, verse 12, it says that I'll punish Jacob for his transgression, because he wrestled, he fought with God and overcame him. So how can a human being attack and wrestle with God when he's spirit? All these are connections that tells us about who they are. They travel with spaceship, which in the Old Testament, when they see the spaceship, they are not able to explain, and they say chariots of fire, chariot. So this is the era that we are able to decode the mystery of God. And interestingly, very, very, very interesting to know that they want to come back. and stay with us, because currently with our scientific advancement we have gotten to a stage that we are about to open a gate, and once we are able to open that gate, if care is not taken, the whole earth will explode. We are going to destroy the earth with this advancement in artificial intelligence, robotics, and this supercomputers and other stuff, quantum technology that we are testing. If we don't take care, we will test and it will explode, because even right now, the higher scientists that are behind artificial intelligence, they are so skeptical about how these artificial intelligence will end up, because you have assembled all the supercomputers in the world to communicate among themselves. The question is, what are they thinking of? What are they planning? Beyond or at the behind the scene. All right, so you see, they have realized that where we have reached, we need support. So they want to come back and then help us develop, evolve. And then they want to also give us their 25 years of scientific knowledge that they have acquired all the years, so that we will migrate or move into the state of paradise. You see, all this paradise thing has been written in all the religious books, and everybody is expecting that to happen, but we still don't know how it's going to happen. And a lot of people still believe that God have to come down and speak and it will happen. Gone are those days we used to believe those things. But today, how can you just speak and then things will be happening? It doesn't work. When we talk of this, someone will say, no, don't go there. These things are very spiritual, because God will speak and it happened because he is superpower. My brother, my sister, listen. There is nothing spiritual. There is nothing miracle on this earth or in this universe. Nothing is miracle. Everything is caused and effect. Everything is the manipulation of matter, the manipulation of nature. Nothing happens miraculously. But you know one thing, when I perform a scientific experiment or I exhibit a scientific deed and you don't have knowledge, you are so primitive, you are about 5,000 years backward, you don't understand that scientific experiment that I just made, you consider it to be miracle. Imagine 500 years ago, someone appears and begin to speak with a mobile phone, like the way we speak today. Everybody in that era will consider him as a magician, because wherever he is, he can talk to someone far away. We have been hearing of these fairy tales that say our ancestors were so powerful and magicians, and even when you want to call a relative in a far distance, you could go to him and then he will call the relative in a mirror and you could talk to the lo and behold, perhaps this Elohim, who have been with us all these years and has been giving traces or pieces of their knowledge to some people, some prophet, some soothsayers, some healers, to sustain life, to help balance life so that life don't get destroyed. Perhaps we've seen that and we consider it to be magical. But today is no longer magical, because you are able to call your brother on video call. You don't even care to know where he is. You shouldn't even know his name. You just have to have a contact and you're able to call. 500 years ago, that was only reserved for who? Magicians and prophets. But today, it is for science. So you see, it wasn't magic. It was the exhibition of scientific knowledge or advanced scientific knowledge beyond the era. So the creation story that we hear is all science. There's nothing magical, nothing superficial. Everything is science. Today, it is very easy to talk about the Raelian philosophy than 50 years ago when Rael got the messages. Because 50 years ago, we had not even had the internet. And it was very, very complicated for man to dream of going to Mars. But today, we've been to the moon, we've been to Mars, and you see, Elon Musk and his team are even trying to colonize or create life or to colonize Mars. And this thing they have started, I tell you, mark it on a wall. It's not going to stop there. Whether they will succeed or not, they will advance. They will advance and keep advancing. Like the way mobile phones started, it was like Motorola, big one, and today you see the kind of phones we are using. It is advancement. So Elon Musk and his team are trying to colonize Mars. Even if they don't succeed, they will pick some clue, and another group will come and continue. Even after the death of Elon Musk, it will continue on and on until they are able to create living organisms. So in future, it may get to a point they say, all right, due to our DNA, due to how we were composed, we aren't able to live anywhere outside this earth, because we need oxygen to survive, we need this, we need the ozone layer to protect the sun, we need this temperature, so we aren't. So what we can do now is that let's manipulate matter, let's manipulate the DNA and create other living organisms which can take in, let's assume in, carbon dioxide and bring out oxygen, who can take in different gas that exists in that planet. So it is just a matter of manipulation of DNA, my brother. When they are able to do that, they will be able to create a replica of us in a different form. They may decide to give them 4 hands. They may decide to give them 2 hands. They may decide to let them eat soil. They may decide to let them be carnivorous, herbivorous. They can do everything with genetic engineering. So once they are able to do that, that creation will now grow to also see us to be God. And they wouldn't even have the glimpse of knowledge to know that we are also created by another advanced civilization. The whole earth is cyclical. Nothing is new. It evolves. So the Elohim were also created by another higher civilization. But you know one thing? This thing, I know you're going to throw your phone away after hearing it. Nothing is permanent. Yes, nothing is permanent. The civilization that created the Elohim are no more. And these Elohim that created us will also be no more very soon. Nothing is permanent. The whole earth evolved. So somebody will ask, who created the earth before the Elohim even discovered it? These are mysteries that have not yet been discovered, but we call it infinity. And in the concept of infinity, what it means is that even the earth that we see, or the planet that we see evolving around the sun, is an atom of a gigantic organism. All right, so when you take you, for instance, there are galaxies within you, and in the galaxies there are planets, and in the planet there are living organisms reacting, cells. So you see that in your cell we have the nucleus in the center, and we have the electrons evolving around the nucleus. But you move in there, there is some level of infinitely small intelligence that are happening there. They also interact, but they are too small that we cannot imagine and understand them. So imagine your cell now trying to ask, or the electrons try to ask, who created us? How did we exist? And the electron coming out to understand the composition of man in totality. It is so impossible, because we are beyond their knowledge, their comprehension. So there are a lot of mysteries, a lot of things that we are about to know. So right now, this sun we see, it is a nucleus, and this earth, this Jupiter, this Mercury, this Venus that revolve around the sun, they are also electrons of another gigantic organism. Anyway, before I make you so confused and let you go crazy, I just want you to know that the Ralliant movement is a movement that currently is through YAWEH, who was the leader of the team that created humankind on earth. We are spreading the message of the coming of the Elohim, which Jesus Christ is part of the Elohim, because Jesus is the son of YAWEH, and Muhammad was also sent by YAWEH to come and create, spread good news to a group of people somewhere in the Arabian Peninsula. And we had several Buddha, other prophets that were sent, Moses and co, that were sent by the Elohim to help humanity, guide us so that we don't go extinct. Elohim want to come back, and we have to build them an embassy Anytime they want to stay with man, they want to come to stay with man, we always build them a dwelling place. The time of Moses, they asked him to build a tabernacle. At the time of Solomon, they built them a temple, and the Elohim or Yahweh came and dwelled in it. The time of Herod, there was also a temple that was built, and Jesus, when he was on earth, he entered that temple several occasions to pray to his Father. And currently, they want to come back and live with us, and now usher us into knowledge and reveal to us who they are. You may ask, why didn't they reveal that knowledge to the time long ago? Why is not in the Bible? This thing is all over, but we haven't known. It's all over, but we've not yet discovered. Now that we are understanding some of these philosophies and some of these theories. All right, so let me just give you this correlation. When you give birth to a child, you don't instantly tell him all your secrets, all your history when he's young. You see, you allow him to grow, and as he keeps growing, you keep revealing to him some of the secrets. And he also begins to discover some outside you, telling him or her. A time will come that small boy, that small girl, you used to whack when he misbehaves. A time comes that when he misbehaves, you find it very difficult to beat or to whip because he has grown, he is of age. So at that time, you can now call him somewhere at dawn and sit with him like an adult. Talk to him, sometimes with tears. You tell him about secret, your deepest secret, you tell him. Why? Because he is of age. He can contain the message. We were very primitive. We could not contain science. And even when the Elohim revealed their scientific knowledge to mankind, we see it to be magical. And at the end, we will also be trying to experiment those things magically without trying to dive deep to know the behind the scene, the principle behind that miracle. We didn't want to know. We didn't have knowledge. So we were shrouded with mysticism. So as I tell you, there is nothing like God sitting on throne, invisible fire, surrounded by angels. That theories were pictorial description of what our ancestors saw primitively. But today we are in the era of science, and we should be able to understand how it is. Satan, we thinking he's some kind of demon that is somewhere in the pit and trying to swallow us. No, Satan is one of the leaders of the Elohim who was in opposition with the Elohim or the scientist creating man on earth. He was in opposition with that. Because according to him, man will rebel and in future will be a threat to the planet of the Elohim. And as it is, the universe cannot live in one direction. It has to always have a balance. That is why there is night and day, light and darkness, male and female, the yin and the yang, up, above and below, good and evil. So there can never be a situation where they are all one. No. When it happens that way, they will not be balanced. Yes, in order to create balance, we have herbivory, we have carnivories. So all these exist to create balance. When one sector is not there, it will not work. The earth will fall in a ditch. All right, so Satan also plays a very important role of creating balance on this universe, of being in opposition with mankind. All right, so these are all mysteries that we will know, we have a lot to talk about, but time will not permit me to tell you everything here. Therefore, I will encourage you to look for the link to our WhatsApp group, and also try to download the intelligent design. Yes, from rael.org. You go to rael.org, rael.org. Just rael.org. You are able to find the intelligent design, read the book. In fact, the illumination, the understanding of the principle of this universe begins with you reading the book. I, for instance, when I talk to someone and he says he have not read the book, I don't take him serious, because reading the book is the fundamental principle of you understanding the era that we are. You know what? All the religious bodies are trying to fight this principle because it sounds like an atheistic religion, which or movement, which is against God. We are not against God. We rather try to decode who God is, so that you understand that there is nothing like an invisible God, but the person we refer as God is the Elohim who enshrouded themselves with some kind of mystery, so that at the appropriate time they will reveal themselves. All right, because as we know, familiarization breeds contempt, and mankind, they have revealed themselves in totality to mankind. Some time passed and man couldn't contain it, and therefore it breeded contempt, like the era of Babel, when man was now trying to build a spaceship to fly to the planet of Elohim and overthrow the Elohim, or plead for forgiveness or whatever. There are a lot of things happened at that time, and therefore they try to confuse us. So man have gotten the opportunity to know who they are, but it breeded contempt. So in this our era, or in the time of the era of Moses coming, they decided to cover everything, cover themselves with some mystery, so that we will be able to evolve to the time of knowledge before they reveal to us who they are. They are coming, and we are building them an embassy. We, the Ralliant Movement, are championing the building of the embassy. We hope latest by 2036 they will be arriving. And this year, 2025, 2026, is a crucial moment where we are selecting the site for the embassy. Originally, they wanted the embassy to be built in Israel, but for almost 40 to 50 years, Israel have rejected the offer. And for that matter, 2025, 2026, we are given the privilege to select anywhere across the world. Wherever we find, we should build the embassy. Africa is not left behind at all. We are competing, we are bidding so hard to bring the embassy to Africa. The Europeans are also bidding, the US also. In fact, when the embassy is built, that will, everything about Mecca, everything about Israel tourism will be a thing of the past, because very soon nobody will even dare venture because all these religions are fading off. You just think of it. You just consider, why are all the religious bodies fading off? Why is it declining? The Elohim are trying to pull it down because they existed to play a role of leading man into science. But now that science have come, no longer necessity for man to be believing in spirituality. They believe in mysticism, draw us backward. It doesn't take us forward. So the Elohim, having discovered that we have evolved somewhere 1946, when there was that explosion of atomic bomb at Hiroshima, they said, no, humanity have advanced. From there, they started pulling down the religions. And right now, what will happen is that the religious bodies, the leaders have all discovered, because there is some absolute silence going on in religion. Gone are those days you pray, you have miracle. Today, no miracle is happening anywhere. All the one you see are superficial. All the pastors can testify that the true manifestation of the Holy Spirit, the true miracles are no more, because the Elohim have decided to pull them down to allow science to reign, because science is the universal religion. But religion will continue to strive because it has become commercialized. And those that have commercialized it, because they have their daily bread from it, they will never let it fall. But because you have also failed to learn, you will also follow them, and they will always fleece you. And you are the reason why religion is still standing. If not, in this scientific era, no one should be religious. We should rather focus on science, because that is how we were created, and that is how we came into existence. All right, so they are pulling it down, and it will happen that those leaders who try to fight this movement, they will all be they'll be dealt with. The Elohim have their own way of dealing with them in such a way that you will be shocked. That's why nowadays you hear that a pastor have raped somebody and the daughter, a pastor have stolen somebody's money, a malam have done that. It is an attempt to reduce the religious influence. Gone are those days the magicians could perform a lot of things. You go to a soothsayer, they were magic. Now they have all lost their powers, because the Elohim allowed all these things to exist to guide man from extinction. But now science have come, and therefore it does no longer exist. All right, so science is the order of the day, and you may challenge it today, but you cannot challenge it tomorrow, because he who created the planet and fixed us here has an agenda. And who are you to fight against that? It's impossible. All right. So what I will advise you is that, having heard this message, try to dive deep. Try to do your own research and try to look above. You see sightings of UFOs, spaceship, like recently what we saw, the Oumuamua, which even the top scientists are not able to understand where it is, how it came into existence. Several UFO sightings in Africa, places. Look above, you see. And very soon, somewhere 2036, you see the Elohims coming down in their spaceship all over, and even the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Kabbalah says that all eyes will see them. They are coming with Jesus, with Muhammad, with Buddha, with Kim Banku and other prophets like Moses. They are coming. They are all coming, to embrace us, because we are family. All right. We will talk more about eternal life, how life is going to be extended, how death, we are going to conquer death. Scientists are pushing so hard, yes, with the introduction of CRISPR, with the introduction of these top advanced science, life is going to be extended. It takes just a pill for your cell to be restored to its original in such a way that the cell can live up to 50 years before it dies. Currently, the lifespan of the cell, is 6 years. Yes. But it's something, that is how Adam could live 900 years and co, and Methuselah 969 years, and so on and forth. We are going back to that era because there is going to be a restoration of our DNA. Come on, let's talk about all this. And when you are able to join our Iranian movement, I know you are inspired, and I know I'll see you there. Thank you. Shalom and oneness. Peace.